hear the holy gospel. Peace be to all.
And to your spirit.
The reading is from the holy gospel according to Saint Matthew.
Glory to thee, O Lord, glory to thee.
Let us attend. The Lord said, when the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then he will sit on his glorious throne. Before him will be gathered all the nations, and he will separate them one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will place the sheep at his right hand, but the goats at the left. Then the king will say to those at his right hand, Come, O blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see thee hungry and feed thee, or thirsty and give thee drink? And when did we see thee a stranger and welcome thee, or naked and clothe thee? And when did we see thee sick or in prison and visit thee? And the king will answer them, Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these my brethren, you did it to me. Then he will say to those at his left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not welcome me. Naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me. Then they also will answer, Lord, when did we see thee hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison, and did not minister to thee? Then he will answer them, Truly I say to you, as you did it not to one of these, the least of these, you did it not to me. And they will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life.
Glory to thee, O Lord, glory to thee.
Glory to Jesus Christ. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. When you get to read the bulletin sometime this week, there are words in it that are probably as startlingly uncomfortable and disgusting in terms of one's spiritual perspective as I can imagine. And we heard them sung at last night's Vesper service for this day of the Last Judgment. Verily I wail and moan when I recall eternity, the utmost darkness and Tartarus, and the painful worms, the gnashing of teeth, and the unceasing pain which is theirs who commit unnumbered sins, and with evil intent have angered thee, O good one, of whom I, most wretched man, am one, and the first among them. Wherefore, O Judge, save me by thy mercy, for thou art compassionate. As I go on to make a few comments on that in the bulletin, the problem for me is I don't get that. I just don't get it. In fact, it's so foreign to my own perspective on what I imagine God to be like, that I just can't imagine that would somehow be a reality for anything anywhere. And yet here it is. And as we head on into the great facts, words given to us that, man, if we haven't been listening up until now, it's as though the church is saying, pay attention. If this is what it takes for you to slow down for a moment and think really hard, then here it is. Think really hard. Put yourself into this. Don't just let it slip by, because if you do, you may be setting yourself up to be paying a much greater price than you might imagine. But I think that it's also an indicator of, let's say, a step further for us to go when we consider these things. Because what is this? This is the last judgment that we're remembering. And we see the river of fire. And we see Christ separating the sheep from the goats. And he sits on a throne. And there's probably not a bad place for us to begin to consider our dilemma. Are we letting God sit on his throne? Or are we the ones on the throne acting as judges? And if we were to say, well, how would I know? Because, no, not me. Not me. I would be the last to put myself in the place of God. But how would I know? What might be some indicators as to who's the judge and who is the judged? And it's pretty simple, really. I mean, that's why when we're given the opportunity, to hear words about living one day at a time, that's where we can look. We can just look at our day. And when we know that what the goal and what the fruit of the Spirit is, as love, joy, and peace, and patience, and kindness, and goodness, and faithfulness, and gentleness, and self-control, well, if I hold that up as my measure and say, I guess if my day is full of those things, if my experience of life is one of love, and joy, and peace, and patience, and kindness, and gentleness, then I guess I'm probably not sitting on the throne. But if I find myself having a different kind of experience for a good part of my day, which could even be just general unconsciousness, just not paying attention, just not looking toward the throne, well, I'll find that there's some other stuff probably going on. And I know that I don't wake up in the morning and find the first thought in my mind, feeling in my heart, words on my lips to be, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Now, every so often that'll happen. But I haven't quite trained myself up enough to have that be where my day begins. My day begins, in general, with a look at the clock and a computation of the time to see if I can lie there in bed a little bit longer. And I'm lucky because 3 days a week I have to come up here to unlock the doors for some meetings that start at 6:30. So on those days at 5:45, I know I'll at least be in my car driving up here to unlock because the sod has grown so I can't get out the back gate of the house fence. But that's about how my day will start. And if I'm fortunate, I might take some time for some prayer and meditation, but not always. And held up against love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. I'm not doing very well right from the start. I'm not paying much attention. I'm not gazing at the throne to see the face of Jesus from first thing in the morning. And so what shows up is that I'm really rather full of it. When I think of myself as being kind of okay, maybe one of the people who won't end up being eaten by the worms for all eternity. So, my day goes on. I'll get to drive around a little bit. I'll get to look at my to-do list. And I'll find once again that my enthusiasm for what is placed in front of me, we would say, at least in theory, by God, is not very high a good part of the time. I'm not really excited when I see, some of the things that I have to do, many of which are things that I haven't done, and that's why I still have them to do. And so I'll look there and it'll be a little depressing, and maybe I'll be lucky. Maybe there'll be a divine liturgy in the morning that I need to go to because it's in the calendar. And then I know I'll be here. That's one of the reasons I appreciate Great Lent as much as I do. Because at the very least, I know that for certain times, I'll actually be doing what I'm supposed to be doing when I'm supposed to be doing it, which is the services of the church. But along with all that comes my interactions with people. And what do I think of them? And what do I think of what they think of me? And all that kind of stuff swirls around. And I can look and see by the number of times I might find myself annoyed, disturbed, upset, somehow knowing better than the people around me how life should be working. All of those are indicators that it's me sitting on the throne, not God. And for those of us who are not made to be judges of anything, let alone of the whole world, that's a terrible place to be. Because there will be nothing more torturous than for us to be somehow pretending, and that is what hell will be, that we're still the ones who should be at the very center of everything. And we aren't. At least not the way that we think we are. Now the beauty of all this really is that the little secret that we hear proclaimed for us when we get 49 days down the road after next Friday's, after next Sunday's start, is that we really are there. And that the beauty of all this is when I'm not sitting on the throne to judge the rest of the world, life is all of a sudden full of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Because now it is not my job to do anything but say thank you and to enjoy the beauty of what God has made me for, which is basically to bask in the radiance and the bliss and the joy and the love that He is. And there will be things that will get in the way of my experience of that because we do live in what we know as a fallen and sinful world. And nevertheless, as I point out virtually every week, we are given on a day-by-day basis the lives of the saints to show us how possible it is for mere humans to attain to the very heights of God. And that, brothers and sisters, is what the Great Lent is all about. It's about our beginning wherever we are, getting to work, and doing something that will avail us eternal gifts and joy and love and mercy and all the other beautiful things that we know God offers us. But again, if I'm sitting on the throne, then there's no room for Him. And very often when I'm sitting on that throne, all I can do is compare myself to you. All I can do is be glad, as the Pharisee that we heard of from a few weeks ago, is be glad that, well, maybe my life's at least not that bad. That is not what we were made for. It's not what we were promised. It's not even on the chart for us. We're Christians. We're people who are part of the body of Christ. We are members of the divine Holy Trinity's life. Why we play so small, why we act so fearful, why we're so angry and jealous, is because we're sitting on the throne. We're the kings, and we want it to be our way, and it will never work from there. So, as we head toward this last week during Cheese Week, this last week where we get to eat dairy products every day, even on Wednesday and Friday, let us pray that we be kind of taking our mark. You know, we're hearing from the church, on your mark, get set, and then we will hit next Sunday, Forgiveness Sunday, where in the evening we will celebrate the great Vespers that turns us from regular time into Great Lent time. Get set, go! Let us be ready next Sunday to go. I know that there's probably only a few of you who are really hearing this and saying, man, that sounds pretty good. I could use a little bit of that. Well, whoever you are who's in that boat, when next Sunday rolls around, go home today and circle your calendar in red or do something special for yourself that will allow next week to be a new and perfectly unique experience for you. that it will allow you to begin this journey the way the church gives it to us, for miracles, for glorious, wondrous things through the efforts on our behalf that we will exert, and from the grace of God who just waits for us to say, yeah, I want some of that. But let us remember that whenever we find ourselves somehow troubled by anything of this world, let us decide and notice and move off that throne, because it truly is God's. Amen.